In his continuing series, The Brunswick Stew, AJ uncovers a local government violating a number of state laws.
Brunswick County in Southside Virginia, where tobacco's king and the claim to fame is stew. But what's stewing now?
Smells like a skunk.
In local government,
it really sounds somewhat ridiculous.
Has citizens fuming and uniting to hold their elected officials accountable.
Is this cronyism right here? Favoritism?
I think it's favoritism when you look at that one contract. Certainly do.
Do I have approval of the agenda?
The recently formed citizens group, Better Brunswick Government, asked us to help investigate how the county is awarding contracts.
We're digging into a lot of what's going on in Brunswick County.
When we started digging, what we found definitely fails to pass the sniff test. Citizens seem to agree.
This is like trying to pick up a dead skunk by the sweet-smelling end. The more you handle it, the stinkier you get.
Here's a prime example. In January, Brunswick put out a bid proposal to hire a grass-cutting company to mow at a county park. They received bids from 4 companies.
The one that got accepted is the highest contract over the other 3.
It raises the question, why would the cash-strapped county choose the most expensive mowing company?
Most contracting business, you're looking for the lowest bid, the best bid.
We began investigating. We obtained the grading system Brunswick government used to pick the winning bid. It includes factors such as cost and experience. Here's how the bids graded out. 2 of the 4 companies received the exact same high score.
So if 2 companies by the county's own grading system can do an equally good job mowing the grass in this park, you'd think they'd choose the one with the lowest price.
But instead, they picked the vendor that will cost taxpayers more than an extra $7 grand over the life of the 2-year contract.
It's costing us, the taxpayers.
Looking for answers led us deeper into the contract paperwork, and like the old saying claims, the devil was in the details. Flipping to the page where the winning company listed references, we got quite a shock. Look at the names listed as vouching for the winner: Bernard Jones and Welton Tyler.
And when I looked at one contract and I saw 2 board of supervisors had supported that contract, and I knew it wasn't a fair game.
That's right. Jones and Tyler are both members of the 5-member Brunswick Board of Supervisors who voted to approve the costly contract.
They've given their rubber stamp to it before it even starts.
The Virginia Public Procurement Act is clear. All procurement procedures need to be conducted in a fair and impartial manner with the avoidance of impropriety or appearance of impropriety. We wanted to be fair and talk with the 2 supervisors who appear to have backed the winning bid before it was even voted on.
Tyler, hi. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Hey, Taylor Gomb, Channel 8. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Can I catch you for 1 second here?
Sure.
But when Board Chairman Welton Tyler realizes what we want to talk about, he basically runs away from our camera.
Your name was listed as a recommendation for one of the bidders. You were listed on there. It raises
have a good night, man.
It raises
have
the
a good
issue
night.
of political favoritism.
Have a good night.
Bernard Jones also refused to speak with us. Fellow board member John Cataldo agreed to, but wasn't that forthcoming on this issue.
Why the county would not just take the cheapest route and save money?
I can't disclose that because of we did that in closed session.
With the board not talking, citizens can only speculate.
If I lived in that county, I'd want an explanation.
It would seem fair or reasonable to ask that question.
Yeah.
Mike Thompson, the president for the bipartisan Thomas Jefferson Institute for Public Policy, reviewed the bid documents with us.
On the surface, this looks like something out of some novel, you know, about the way local government is run by the good old boy network. I mean, that's what the papers look like.
It's not just shady looking. Our investigation uncovered that Brunswick government's whole bid process is downright illegal.
Virginia code clearly says all contracts with non-governmental contractors for the purchase of services, such as lawn mowing, shall be awarded after competitive sealed bidding. In a competitive sealed bid, lowest responsible bid always wins. What Brunswick did was award the contract after picking and choosing the company they wanted to hire. State code says they can only do that if they, in advance, set forth in writing why using competitive sealed bidding isn't fiscally advantageous.
Brunswick County never did that, so the contract they awarded to mow this grass violates state law. How did you become aware that there was an issue with this?
We became aware of it primarily from your email to me when you inquired about the declaration form. And once we became aware of the declaration form, we have immediately changed our processes.
Brunswick County Administrator Charlotte Woolridge agreed to do what none of the elected officials on the board would: be interviewed and own up to what's been going on.
This has been standard operating procedure for us.
She says they were unaware they were violating state law with their bidding process, and not just on the lawn mowing contract.
All the contracts have been done more or less this way.
100% of the contracts have been done this way. From our standpoint, we thought we were doing everything proper and in order. Now that we are aware of that this is an issue going forward, this is an issue that we are going to make sure that we correct.
The citizens of Better Brunswick Government say they'll be watching to ensure just that.
Sooner or later, they could see the wisdom of what we're trying to do. We're not trying to hurt them. It's not that thing. It's trying to help them.
As to why the grass cutting contract was given to the highest bidder, the county administrator claims it was because the company has had that contract in the past and did a great job. But as we showed you, state law says when you're using taxpayer dollars for a job like lawn mowing, low bid always wins.
In his continuing investigation, the Brunswick Stew, AJ uncovers a contract belonging to a county administrator not worth the paper it's written on.
She has a six-figure job, a large office, and is arguably the most important woman in Brunswick County government. But County Administrator Charlotte Woolridge's employment contract is, in a word, worthless.
Were you surprised when I showed it to you? And in essence, it could be voided because it may not have been done according to state law?
My contract is an issue for the Board of Supervisors, and that is an issue that the Board of Supervisors will need to address.
We began looking at Woolridge's contract in the wake of a scandal surrounding a $10,000 bonus she received, and then was required to pay back, and then was rewarded yet again. Here's how all that played out. When the county board renewed Woolridge's contract this past summer, she was given a $10,000 bonus, awarded for what supervisors say was her role in landing plans with Dominion to build this proposed power plant in Brunswick. But a number of citizens cried foul.
Bankruptcy, which is where you all have us headed right now.
Questioning at public board meetings why their highest paid employee was receiving a bonus when taxes are skyrocketing and the small rural county is struggling to balance the budget.
People, if it's not their money, they don't really care how they spend it sometimes.
Do I have approval of the agenda?
A quickly growing citizens group calling itself Better Brunswick Government formed. Their goal, looking into how their county was doing business. They uncovered that the bonus was given illegally.
This is like trying to pick up a dead skunk by the sweet smelling end. The more you handle it, the stinkier you get. Ms. Woolridge, pay that money back.
Here's the sticking point. State code says the payment of a bonus shall be authorized by ordinance. The county board didn't have an ordinance allowing them to award bonuses.
Giving a bonus is not legal according to legal representation.
It forced the board to, in essence, eat crow.
The board did not realize that an ordinance was required before a bonus could be awarded.
The county racked up nearly $2,700 in legal fees with their Richmond law firm, Sands Anderson, trying to figure a way out of the mess. In the end, Woolridge was forced to write this check to the county, paying back her bonus. The board then passed an ordinance allowing themselves to award bonuses, and Woolridge was reissued her bonus, much to the chagrin of upset county residents.
It's not right to the citizens of Brunswick County. Brunswick County, the people have a hard time. It's not one of the richest counties in the state of Virginia.
We were asked to investigate the bonus situation. As we looked at it, a number of other issues jumped out at us from the county administrator's contract. It's filled with sloppy errors. For example, under both the salary and retirement supplement sections, it lists the wrong year, 2011, not 2012. But when you flip to the last page, the errors really pile up. It says that one of the witnesses to the contract being signed is Tammy Newcomb, deputy clerk. But Tammy never signs the contract. Instead, a woman named Kim Height, an administrative assistant, does. I asked Charlotte Woolridge about the inconsistency.
Obviously, that was an error, and that is an error that will be corrected. It's a procedural matter, and that's an issue that will be addressed.
But that procedural error, as she describes it, is not the most egregious problem. The county attorney, Phyllis Katz, with the law firm Sands Anderson, who was paid several $1,000s trying to find a way to fix the bonus fiasco, clearly never reviewed the contract.
Our county attorney reviews documents that we request review of.
But there's a problem with that. State law clearly says the county doesn't have a choice in whether they want their attorney to review contracts.
Here's what the law says in plain English. All contracts shall be approved as to form by the county attorney. Back to the Woolridge contract. In violation of state law, the county attorney does not sign it. It's the same story in Woolridge's 2011 and 2010 contracts. This is what they should look like and in fact did in Woolridge's 09 contract. Approved to form by the county attorney.
How come an attorney didn't sign it?
My contract is an issue for the Board of Supervisors, and that is an issue that I will talk to with the Board of Supervisors for them to address.
Unless they do address it legally, the county administrator's contract's about as legally binding as these blank pieces of printer paper.
Built in 1854, overlooking the main drag in Lawrenceville sits the historic Brunswick County Courthouse. Justice is no longer the building's main function, but it still houses the local DMV and the county treasurer's offices. A steady stream of citizens can usually be found coming and going through the front door. And our investigation uncovered that every one of them is being put at risk of serious injury.
So, safety issue.
After years as a Virginia state trooper, Bill Hudson's now retired and calls Brunswick County home. Just discussing the situation at the courthouse gets him hot under the collar.
It's just gross negligence as far as I'm concerned.
What Bill calls gross negligence is the way the county's handled structural problems with the courthouse's portico and cupola. Back in 2009, the Virginia Department of Historic Resources commissioned a condition assessment of the building. What was found were a number of structural issues that were, quote, cause for concern. Roof leaks compromising a truss and the girder that supports the north side of the cupola. Bird droppings holding moisture and hastening the deterioration of the lightly framed portico ceiling. Increasing loads on the fragile area standing directly above the front door. The report goes on to say a structural engineer was needed immediately, that it's a matter of some urgency, and that until the engineer's recommendations are fully implemented, county employees and the public need to be protected from falling debris. An engineer was hired. In his report, he concurs with the previous findings and says some things need to be done immediately. Cordon off the entire portico, prohibiting the use of the portico and front entrance. Erect scaffolding under the entire portico ceiling of sufficient strength to protect against collapse of the ceiling.
That report was dated October 8th, 2009. Fast forward 3 years and we find the engineer's safety recommendations have been almost completely ignored.
The recommendation was the entire portico should be scaffolded off, and that certainly is not done.
The entire portico is supposed to be cordoned off. That also hasn't happened.
As you can see, anybody can walk up on the portico. It's not even barricaded by a caution tape or anything. It just has a piece of string up there and part of that's down.
Bill is not the only citizen concerned by the county's apparent disregard for safety.
My 1-year-old son right there, if I, walk by and all this stuff fall on us and something happen, we'd be out back. It's crazy.
Bill, you said you've brought this to the county's attention?
Yes, numerous times.
What have they done about it?
Nothing. Not a thing.
So we took the issue to Brunswick's county administrator, Charlotte Woolridge.
How come some of the repairs of both William and Mary and then the private engineer that you hired said it needed to be addressed immediately haven't been done?
From our perspective, it has been addressed. The scaffolding on the courthouse meets OSHA standards, so in our opinion, it has been addressed.
No matter what question we asked Woolridge, we got the same baffling answer. Listen to the exchange.
The engineer's report says that the entire area under the portico needs to be cordoned off. It isn't right now. Why is that?
From our perspective, we are in compliance with the report. It meets all of OSHA standards.
Should people be up there on that area under the portico that's not protected by scaffolding?
The entire area is protected, and OSHA indicated that we are in compliance.
Do you believe county employees or the public are in any way being put at risk with the situation at the old courthouse as it stands right now?
Absolutely not. Again, we are in compliance with OSHA standards.
The answers are baffling for a number of reasons. OSHA, a federal agency, doesn't even operate in the Commonwealth. Look, you go to OSHA's website, put in Virginia, and it says you've chosen a state which operates its own occupational safety and health program. In Virginia, all issues regarding workplace safety are handled by the Virginia Department of Labor and Industry.
And we found through Freedom of Information requests that Brunswick County has no record whatsoever that they're in compliance with OSHA or any other state or federal agency's safety standards.
Eventually, Charlotte Woolridge told us someone in her office had a phone conversation with OSHA, but they don't have the name or number of the person they spoke with.
What's OSHA had to say about that situation then?
Okay. OSHA said that this is protective scaffolding. This is not scaffolding that you would typically use on construction site. And because it's protection scaffolding, we are in compliance with their laws and regulations.
The only documentation Brunswick has to back up their assertion is this letter from a scaffolding salesman. He tells the county that what they've set up is not by OSHA's definition a scaffold because it's not being used to support employees or materials, and therefore is not subject to inspection requirements.
But think about that for a second. The county is claiming that because no one is climbing on this scaffolding, it therefore is not scaffolding by OSHA standards. See, they have signs that say not for use. They're taking that to mean it's safe. But they're missing the point entirely. The issue is not whether all this scaffolding is safe. The issue is whether the scaffolding is adequate to protect folks from being hurt should the ceiling up above it collapse.
That's a very real possibility, according to the engineer's report, which once again says scaffolding needs to be put up under the entire portico to protect against collapse. So when it comes to the safety of people using this courthouse, it seems Brunswick County government is asleep on the job.
I don't think they're doing their job.
On top of all the safety issues, some citizens are pointing out a lack of fiscal responsibility. Brunswick County spent about $14,000 over the last 3 years renting what scaffolding they do have at the courthouse. Now, it could have just been purchased for a fraction of that cost. Plans are in the works to completely remodel the historic courthouse, a multi-million-dollar project, but those plans may take several more years to complete. In the meantime, you may want to move quickly when you're entering and leaving the courthouse.
3 years and one 8 News investigation later, a local community or a local county is finally taking action to protect citizens from dangerous conditions at the courthouse and DMV. Investigative reporter A.J. Legault provides us with an update on his ongoing series of reports called The Brunswick Stew.
There is no danger. That's what Brunswick County Administrator Charlotte Woolridge repeatedly told us. But after our reports aired detailing how the county was ignoring a structural engineer's warnings that the portico ceiling of the courthouse could collapse at any time, the county finally took action, barricading the entire front of the courthouse with construction fencing and wire mesh.
I'm glad they're doing that. It took too long to do it. A lot of people's lives might have been jeopardized by not taking action.
We're still waiting to hear how the county will respond to the DMV commissioner's demand for answers about the safety of his customers using this courthouse. In Brunswick, A.J. Legault, 8 News.
Last month, we detailed how Brunswick County government leaders had ignored and misinterpreted blatant safety warnings at their historic courthouse, which also houses a branch of the DMV. Well, tonight, Virginia's DMV commissioner discussing the actions he took in response to our report.
Well, AJ, let me first of all thank you and Channel 8 for making us aware. We saw your story, and then within a couple of days we were starting in corresponding with the county.